Hello everybody and welcome back to One Hub Racing. We are here for the penultimate round in the P3 tier. Colin and myself, of course, bring you all the action from Mexico, Colin.
Yes, and it's another one of the circuits where we're linked with the real Formula One that's happening later on this evening. So this is double hype.
Yeah, 19 drivers here tonight. Only Gaza missing. It says 18, but Vitinho should be joining the session shortly. If not, we'll try and keep trying to get him in. And of course, Cole, you got the long pit straight here. You got the stadium section, which is obviously nice for the fans. I think Vitinho's just joined the session now. Yeah, he's in his Ferrari. So 19 at the penultimate round. Obviously, the championship crowned earlier on the season, but plenty of points still to play for, and positions up and down the grid need to be decided. But here in Mexico, Cole, we've got a dry qualifying and race.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of drivers who are quite happy about that. But you can see from the weather on the circuit that it is overcast. So the conditions now, I actually found overcast a bit better because it means that the soft tyres aren't mullered at the end of the sector. So it could be a case that this is the best time to go out.
Yeah, definitely. And the cooler conditions, Cole, in the race as well, perhaps going to help the tyre temperatures, particularly the rears, which I know a lot of drivers are struggling with here. Bit clunky over the curbs, tyre wear's high. We don't expect to see the soft tyres in the race. Difficult circumstances for the drivers, but obviously all going to have to cope with the same.
Exactly, it's the same for everyone. Everyone has the same, equipment, etc. Equal performance in the cars. So it is going to be a lot of tyre management involved today, I think. I don't expect to see the soft tyre appear at all, to be honest, in the race.
Now let's talk about a couple new drivers who we've had join the P3 tier for the final couple of races of the season. So Nicholas in the Aston Martin is replacing Guest. So big welcome to him. And then we got a returning driver of Gaming Nerd, or we know him as Zach. And Cole, a couple of new drivers joining late in the season. It's been a P3 tier which hasn't started. I think there's only 7 drivers who started the season are still here, so in the P3 tier. So a bit disappointing on that front, but we're ending the season with a great group of sim racers.
Yeah, exactly that, and we got nice full grid as well. Only Gazaman is missing this evening, so we got a full, 19 drivers headed into turn 1, which could be very, very interesting. But a huge welcome to Nicholas and Zach, and it's a good warm-up for them, Nick, for the following season. Hopefully they plan to sign up for season 28. And I know that Nicholas has been desperate to get in, and he's been on the waiting list for a long time, to be fair to him. So best of luck to Nicholas. We'll be keeping a good close eye on him, see how he gets on in his maiden One Hub race.
Well, Gaming Nerd, just to bring you, all the drivers have access to our driver database, and I can tell you that he's got 17 finishes, 11-point finishes, 1 win, 3 podiums, 2 fastest laps. He scored 85 points in One Hub and 2 driver of the day. So a driver with some experience. Let's see what he can do here tonight. Nicholas, as you mentioned, new to One Hub, excited to be here, and we're excited to have him here, as we've already seen 3 times within a tenth of a second. J.R. Mason, Joe, and Hockey Night. Lawrence pops up with a 16-1, Vitinho with a 16-7.
Yeah, still showing quite close at the minute. Jamie on a 16-8. I think he'll be pleased with that for the first run. Just on board Nicholas now as he's coming through the quite clumsy and difficult stadium section. Very easy to lose the rear, especially on the final turn as well. So what's Nicholas's first competitive lap in One Hub going to be? It's going to be a 16 flat. What a lovely lap from Nicholas that is.
Shiesty goes with a 16.6, Max 17.0, Proverb 17.4. So I think it's going to be a close qualifying session here today, Cole. But ultimately, track position is quite important because we will see some DRS trains, although you can overtake with the long straight. Once they're a trainer DRS, sometimes it can be a bit tricky.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, it all depends on your wing levels as well, because if you feel the need to go for a high downforce to cope with tyre wear and the corners, etc., then you're going to struggle with straight line speed. And there were a couple of drivers that I was racing with who had higher wings, and even though they had DRS, they could not catch me down the straight. So they've got that to deal with as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see everyone's wing levels and straight line speed, as Jack still out on the mediums at the minute, probably trying to get in a little bit of practice before going on for some soft tyre runs, which isn't a daft idea.
Yeah, obviously, due to the short nature of this track, I think if drivers head out straight away, as last week we had a Ride Dog struggling with the rear of his car through the high-speed section, this isn't going to be a competitive lap from himself. But I think drivers are... there's going to be lots of them out on track towards the end of the session, but if they head out straight away, they can actually get 4 runs in here, I believe.
Yes, and that could be very, very important because, I mean, usually 9 times out of 10, the more laps you do in a qualifying session, the quicker you go, and it also means you can screw up a lap or two and still find yourself with time and tyres to set a competitive lap.
Well, 2 drivers on the mediums, the rest choosing to use the soft compound of tyres. Just under 12 minutes left in the session. Yellow flags being shown shortly. I think that was just one of the Williams moving out the way, which is always good to see. Just on board with LDNN, who's had a name change from Lingfeldt. So not a new driver, but a different name on screen. And do you think we're going to have some issues here with traffic, Cole, particularly where the last stadium section is so tight, narrow and slow?
I think so. I can see it being a problem, especially if drivers leave it late to go out towards the end of the session. It's very easy because, like you said, it is so slow. You know, you could end up getting caught out and being held up. We saw it in the real Formula 1 in USA, where there were drivers who left it too late to go out, and they did not manage to set a lap time towards the end of the session. So hopefully that won't happen here. But you definitely got to leave a good gap to the car in front. You don't want to get in that dirty air.
Miles pops up with a 15.8, so a good lap from the Alpine driver. I was riding on board second half of that lap. He did have a car in front of him through the stadium section, but obviously due to the nature of that section, I don't really feel like Dirty has too much of a difficulty, but you know, still not ideal when it comes to picking your braking zones and things like that. Matthias has popped up into 4th with a 16.2. Well done to him. LDNN, his teammate in the Sauber, 16.6. Shiesty with a 16.6 as well. So Colin, looking pretty close. A second covering the top 11 drivers at the moment here in the P3 tier. Quinn and Fury Formula still to set a lap time. I think Quinn's invalidated his, which is why he's showing as not having set one. Track limits here, Cole. Do you think we'll see some validations, some penalties in the race, perhaps?
Yes, I mean, I could see them being quite considerable as well. In the practice race that we did earlier, you know, there were some pit lane speed penalties as well, but you know, some drivers getting as high as 9 and 12 second time penalties for corner cut-in and track extended. And I think we're going to see a lot of invalidations here. Mason, I think, has done it because he's come straight in the pit lane. Yeah, Mason invalidated, and so did Joe. So it's put them on the back foot a little bit.
So Hockey Knight, just coming through the middle section, has backed off. He did have an Aston Martin in front of him. Nicholas has spun it. Oh, just caught on board, kept it out the barrier. But that was through the middle section of the track. Still has, I believe, his overtake on. And, yeah, lost the rear of the car there. So he'll have to come back to the pits. Lawrence with a 15.9. So 2 drivers into the 15s at the moment. But just shows you, Cole, that although it's such a short track, in some ways simple, it can be really difficult as Max runs wide and invalidates his latest lap.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see drivers struggling. It is very, very difficult on rear grip, this circuit. I think we mentioned it in the Stewart show on Friday that, you know, the air is 25% thinner in real life. I'm assuming that F1 has tried to replicate that, and so your aerodynamics are not so effective, so you don't get that rear downforce that you would do on circuits like Belgium. So yeah, I'm not surprised to see drivers invalidating and struggling.
Well, Quinn and Fury Formula still need to set a lap time. Fury Formula, I believe, invalidated his latest one, so he's going to have to try and go again. Quinn, we know he's got the pace, but he needs to be able to deliver when it counts, both in the race and in qualifying. Of course, during the lobby restart, we will run through all the championship standings ahead of round 11. And of course, 50% race to come. Mandatory 2-stop fastest laps for inside and outside the top 10. Cole, lots of points still to play for here in these final 2 rounds. Brazil, of course, is the finale next week.
Yeah, exactly. And neither, you know, P2 or P3 in the championship or the constructors is decided yet. So there's still, you know, tons to play for these drivers. I'm hoping that Quinn can get a good result. He's been quite unfortunate the last couple of races. Things haven't quite gone his way. He's a little bit on the back foot, but still got 6 minutes left, so still plenty of time. He's on a hot lap at the minute. No delta, of course, because this is his first run, or first valid one. And then we're coming in now to the very tricky stadium section. So easy to misjudge your braking and your turn-in points. There you can see Quinn having a double go at the last corner. What's it going to be? It's a 16 flat. It's put him in P4. That's a lovely lap from the Red Bull driver. He'll be pleased with that.
Yeah, looking pretty tasty and close at the top of the field. 2 drivers on the zeros. A couple drivers sneaking in to the 15s. JR Mason is on his latest lap. He's 4 tenths up at the moment, so this could take him into the 15s if he finishes the lap strong. So let's ride on board with your dad, Cole. Talk us through these final couple corners.
Let's have a look. He's got those S's really well, and that last corner looked pretty perfect as he nails it. What's it going to be? It's a 15.9. It's put him on the front row. He'll be delighted with that lap.
Yeah, it's looking incredibly close. I have to say the driver changes that we've made to the P3 tier, Cole, have really improved the competitiveness of this tier, and you can see that just by looking at the times on your screen.
I mean, yeah, look, you can see that there's 1 second covering 15 drivers, which is absolutely astonishing, really. You know, just over a tenth covering the top 3. This is shaping up to be an barnstorming race as well.
Your provisional pole sitter, sorry, Cole, is just going to come across the line. He was up at the end of Sector 2. Is he going to improve further? He does to a 15.8. Miles is showing some incredible pace here tonight, Cole.
Miles is really, really on it at the minute. The Alpine driver, he is really having a tremendous run the last couple of races, to be fair. He's really starting to get into the swing of it. Nick, that's a very difficult lap to beat, even with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, 3 tenths in it between himself and JR Mason. So we said the field was looking close, but Miles has gone and put a proper banker down. Lawrence saying that is 2.5 tenths up, so that's going to put him on a 0.7 at the moment if he finishes this lap strongly. So let's ride on board. He's choosing to avoid the curb, whereas Miles went aggressive through the stadium section curbs. How's it going to play out in terms of their lap time? Lawrence nails it too and goes just about quicker by, what's that, 1,000th?
That is wild. That is absolutely wild. Look at that. I mean, it doesn't get much closer than that. Miles must be absolutely fuming with that. But both drivers, I don't know about Lawrence though. Lawrence might have enough time to come back in the pit lane and do another run, but he's going to have to gun it back to the pits.
Yeah, he will have to. Hopefully, doesn't cut any corners, because obviously we do know that stewards will penalise you if you start cutting the track in order to get back to the pits quicker. But just over 3 minutes left in the session. I'm not sure he's going to have enough time. Possibly. There's a Ferrari just coming across the line now, and you've got Hockey Knight coming across the line as well. So he's gone slower. Wonder if he'll have enough fuel to do another lap. Fury Formula just going up into 6th position, so that's a good lap from him. But Cole, I do feel any of the top 5 could steal this pole position. I know there's 4 tenths between Quinn, Nicholas, then Lawrence and Miles, but I do think that there's probably some pace left to find for those drivers.
I would say so, yeah. I was on board with most of the top 6's lap times, and they all had at least one moment where they lost a tenth or two. So, and credit to Fury Formula, a 16.2 puts him in P6. That's some stunning pace from the Ferrari driver. He is lagging, unfortunately, quite considerably. Hopefully that gets improved.
Yes, definitely. Lag can be disastrous, not just for the driver who's having the issues, but also the other drivers around them on track. So just under 2 minutes left in the session. Fury Formula comes into the pit, so that is his session done. You've still got Max in the pits. No, he's just coming out now. What about Vitinho? Vitinho hasn't left the garage, so I don't think he's going to have enough time. No, because his teammate is currently getting pushed back into the garage, and he there can't exit. Jack Craig isn't coming back out either. Neither is... Lawrence has come out the pits now. He's going to have to gun this this outlap.
Yeah, and he's got cars in ahead of him as well, so either they've finished their lap or they're going to be starting one as well. So Lawrence cutting it very, very fine to set another lap here. This is going to be very difficult for him. It's going to be a couple of seconds left.
Your dad's on a fast one at the moment, sliding the rear of the car through that left-hander beautifully. He was half a tenth up in Sector 1. Keep an eye on the split time at the top. Is he going to be improving in Sector 2? Yes, he's continued that trajectory. What can he do in this final sector? Takes that fast right-hander nice and steady. Car in front getting nicely out of the way. No problems with that in terms of running off track to get out of the way of another car. Using all of the road, Cole, and the exit the final corner. I think this is going to be an improvement. He nails that strategy. What's it going to be? A 15.9. Does improve, but at the moment staying third.
Yeah, so that he does improve. I was quite surprised to see him improve, to be honest. As Joe improves, a 15.7, he's now in third place. So who have we got left? So we got Quinn coming round. Quinn's 2 tenths up. So this could bump him up into the top 5. What's he going to do when he crosses the line? Let's have a look. It's a 15.8 into 4th position for Quinn.
So who else we got? When you got Nicholas is down, but he does have a car in front through this high-speed section, so that's not going to help him. Who is that? That's an Alpine, I think, perhaps Gaming Nerd. I'm not too sure. But yeah, he's caught right up to the back of this Alpine, so either he's timed it wrong or the car in front's made a mistake, but I don't think you're going to see Nicholas improve as he heads towards the line. Can he do anything to destabilise? No, it's a 15.9, so in 5th position for himself at the moment. What about the top 3? Miles comes across the line. It's a 15. He doesn't improve. Or does he improve? He did. I think it was invalidated.
Yes, I think it was an invalid 15.4 for Miles, so that would be frustrating for him, which shows how easy it is to do that. Vitinho's about to cross the line. He is a 10th up. He moves up into 12th place on a 16.3. And both Ferraris are bouncing around a little bit. But I think, Nick, that is our grid order. And of course, we've got no gearbox or engine penalty, so that is going to be the grid order.
Yeah, regardless, there will still be a lobby restart, so drivers will get to reselect their strategy. Of course, they need to load their setups, choose their fuel. Expect the soft tie not to be particularly used within the race unless there's a late safety car or something like that. But Lawrence taking pole position here in the P3 tier. Joe jumped up to third there, I think, towards the end of the session. But I would say that's probably one of the most exciting qualifying sessions we've had here in the P3 tier this season, Cole, because it really did feel
Brilliant.
like, I mean, look at the gap. You know, any of the top five, I think, could have been on pole position tonight.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's Lawrence who takes it by 100th of a second from Miles in second. Joe will start the race in third. Then we have Quinn in fourth, Nicholas in fifth, Mason in sixth, Matthias in seventh, Rydog eighth, Fury Formula ninth, Jamie in 10th place. Then we have Max, Vitinho, LDNN, Hockey Nye, Shiesty, Whopping Proverb, Gaming Nerd, Jack, and in 19th place we have Dr. Mew.
Interestingly, the top two, Cole, didn't improve on their last lap. They went slightly slower. So it was their penultimate lap that was the lap time that ultimately got them both on the front row. But it's not all about qualifying here because, you know, although we do get DRS trains, that first run down to turn one is one of the longest of the season.
Yes, it's going to be very, very interesting. Do you really want to be on pole position for this race, or would probably, given the choice, I think I'd probably want to be third, because then you'd have a really good tow from the driver ahead. You're on the clean side, but obviously there's a danger of you getting boxed in. So it's going to be a very interesting run down to turn one.
Alrighty, well, Lewis Hamilton starting in third in the real life race, which I think in the UK starts at 8:30, 8:30 today,
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock tonight. So all those in the UK, hope you enjoyed your extra hour in bed this morning. Ignore what you're going to see on screen because we will be going back for a lobby restart, and that's why you can see some drivers already spinning around in the background. And I know if those who commentate in the P2 tier call in the P3 tier, they don't get to enjoy this demolition derby because they have the overlays, whereas we
Yeah.
get to enjoy the carbon fiber going everywhere.
Yeah, as we see a monumental accident with the McLarens. Let's hope that's not repeated in the real race. Yeah, so the reason why we do these lobby restarts is that so we can apply any grid penalties, either from the stewards or for their engine and gearbox penalties. And this particular race, there is no penalties at all. None from the stewards, no gearbox or no engine penalties.
Yes, obviously all drivers at some point during the season have to take a new engine, which results in a 10-place grid penalty, or a new gearbox, which results in a 5-place grid penalty, which ultimately doesn't gain you anything on lap time, but it's just part of the one hub experience that we do here to try and make our drivers get to live the life of a real Formula One driver, with their interviews and all bits and bobs that we do, Cole, here at One Hub.
Yeah, exactly that. And of course, we introduced two new segments this season as well. One being the steward stream, going through the incidents and explaining them in more detail, and that's every Friday. And of course, on the Sunday morning, we have a pre-race stream as well, where we do interview a couple of drivers, and of course, we reveal the weather.
Yes, of course, the league adaptive weather system here at One Hub Racing, a set of conditions where a wheel spins in the pre-race show. Whatever it lands on is what the conditions we race under. And Colt, whenever there is a wet race featured, it will feature mixed conditions. So it's not just wet all the way through, because I feel like from commentators, from viewers, from drivers, you load into the session, you've practiced all week, and then you got full wet tyres the entire race. It's not really what anyone wants.
No, and those races are, tend to be quite dull, to be honest, the full wet races, which is why here we do the weather scenario that Nick mentioned, and we make sure it has got rain, but it mixes it up a little bit with some overcast weather thrown in. And of course, it makes the drivers think a little bit more about strategy. So we're back in the lobby now. Jamie will be resetting the grid, ready for the main race, and obviously doing the weather, which we know is going to be dry, but does have some overcast weather in it.
Yes, which ultimately can affect the track temperature, the temperature therefore of the tires. But I think drivers have a really, really tricky decision to make here in terms of car setup, because obviously you've got the high speed section, which we know on this game is quite difficult to follow because of the dirty air, which fair play to Codemasters, they have formulated quite well. But then you've got the long straight as well, really long straight. So ultimately, they've got to make the decision what sort of car setup do they go for, and I'm sure you'll be able to see. We've had races around Mexico in the past where drivers who have run a low downforce setup, it's almost impossible to pass them.
Yeah, exactly that. And don't forget, we have partnered with simracingsetups.com, who do supply setups not only for the dry, but for the intermediate and wet weather conditions, along with some strategy tips as well. So you can head over to them. And of course, the driver of the day nominations get 10% off. And I believe, Nick, that is it £100 for the driver with the most driver of the days?
Yeah, so the driver who finishes the season with the greatest tally will get £100 voucher. And of course, every week, all the drivers who win the driver of the day will get a £10 voucher. So yeah, big thanks to them for all the support. As well as all our other sponsors, Cole. We couldn't offer what we offer here at One Hub Racing. Obviously, we do have an entry fee to join the league, Cole. But we've got 60 drivers this season who have paid it, plus all those who have joined in mid-season. And I feel like the value and return they get, the service, the atmosphere, all of it, it's pretty worthwhile.
It certainly is, especially when you consider what is on offer. Just to let you know that Mason, a few years back, actually won himself a next level racing cockpit, the FGT Lite, which he's using and what he's sitting in as we speak. And without the fee, the entrance fee, things like that wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, it has so many advantages in terms of, obviously the P3 tier has been a bit of an exception this season, but in terms of attendance, drivers understanding that, yes, we understand, maybe every driver can't attend every race, although pretty much you and I usually do, Cole. But it does make drivers a bit more committed, take things a bit more seriously, which ultimately, we want everyone to have fun, but we want everyone to be attending as many races as they can. Full grids are what we're after, but quality, of course, over quantity.
Yes, exactly that. And one thing we also do here at One Up is we treat every tier the same. There are certain leagues out there that prioritize the quicker drivers, their top tier. We don't do that here. Every tier and every driver is treated the same and treated equally. And the same prizes, etc., is given out for each tier. So that's something that I'm personally very proud of, being a part of One Hub.
Yeah, definitely. Just because you're quicker and you're racing a higher tier doesn't mean for you as a driver it's any more competitive than someone who's racing in one of the lower tiers. For them, they're trying just as hard, and that's the level they're at. So yeah, it's great to see that the prizes are and trophies and everything. We've always tried to keep it the same, something that's engraved in our cornerstones of what we do here at One Hub Racing. But yeah, excited to finish the season strongly in the P3 tier. 19 drivers. Gaz is currently sitting in the sunshine on the sunbed, enjoying celebrating his second place that he got in Qatar a couple of weeks ago. But Colin, you and I are sitting here ready to commentate. We've got the P2 tier on at 4:30, and of course the P1 tier where we're racing on at 6 p.m. Why do we have them earlier this week, Cole? Obviously because of the real F1 race, but I know there's quite a few drivers who actually prefer them earlier on, so it's something that, the admin team are going to take note of and discuss ahead of next season.
Yes, yes, and there may be a community vote as well, just to see what the community thinks of the timings and which is more suitable for them. Um, we and don't forget there will be a at the end of the year feedback questionnaire for everyone involved in one. Please fill it in, throw any suggestions, and ideas or things you like, things you don't like, because we can only improve with the input from yourselves. As you know, everyone knows that we don't stand still here at One Hub. We're constantly trying to improve, our league for everyone. Not just the drivers, but for our spectators as well.
Well, J. Cole prefers the earlier start time, so I think we might have to actually push him back.
There we are, evening it is then.
Yeah, try and get him to stop racing here at One Hub. He's like a leech, just can't get enough of the Purple League. But in the grids, the drivers will be loading their setups. Hopefully, they don't forget choosing their fuel. Cole doesn't use much fuel around here. Obviously, you mentioned the high altitude, so in real life it is tricky on the engines. Cooling's really important. But you can see the grandstands. The fans love Mexico, the race here in Mexico, don't they?
It is absolutely brilliant. And one thing I cannot believe I haven't mentioned, but I'm going to do it now. The last corner is named the Mansell Corner. After his barnstorming move, obviously slightly different layout in those days, back in 1990, passing the McLaren of Gerhard Berger. Anyone old enough to remember that overtake in the chat? Please chuck it in so I don't feel like I'm the only old git here.
I was going to say, you know a thing or two about Nigel Mansell, don't you, Cole?
Just a bit. Yeah, so for drivers listening to the stream, please remember your setups, remember your strategy, remember your fuel. And it's nice to see no one's readied up early as well, so that's good. That gives all our drivers plenty of time to get their setups and their strategy sorted. Nick, are we going to see any soft runners at the start of this race?
Well, I was just going to say it's nice that we've got a couple new drivers and they haven't readied up either. So that means they've read the rules, which is always good. And no one will have to be referred to the stewards. The tier coordinator is given the go-ahead, so 30 seconds from now. I wish Codemasters would improve this spectator bit at the start of the race, so at the last second when the lights come on, it doesn't just switch over to the grid. Could give us a bit of time to get our menus and things like that set up, the track map on the corner of the screen. But nevertheless, will we see anyone on soft tyres? Well, if we do, they'll be dead quite early on, but it wouldn't surprise me if drivers try it to get a good start. Ultimately, I think the hard tyre is probably the favourite compound around here. But 5 red lights, Cole. Here we go in Mexico for round 11. A McLaren and an Alpine on the front row, and it looks like the Alpine's got away well. Ride Dog's already moved up a place. Matthias hasn't had the best start. We'll wait to get all the menus, but it looks like, there's 2 drivers in the wall there. That's J.R. Mason and possibly Quinn. I'm not 100% sure what happened there, but it looks like one of them moved over on the other one. Jamie making moves, and McLaren keeping the position into turn 1. And as they filter through, a few drivers, Nicholas, Quinn down the back. So Quinn's been involved again in an incident which has ultimately cost him a load of positions.
Yes, I just saw it in the corner of my eye as I was focusing on the front two, that the Red Bull and the Williams coming together straight into the wall. Difficult to see if anyone is at fault for that, but that may end up in the stewards. But Lawrence, he's almost got that 1 second already, which is exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, you can see the drivers all filtering through this high-speed section now. To be fair, Cole, no one is without DRS, so anyone who's fallen down the back is still on the pack at the moment. I say that Dr. Muse just dropped out of a second. You've got the 2 Sauber drivers there, but who's your biggest loser from that? Quinn's lost 15 positions, Nicholas has lost 11, J.R. Mason's lost 7. Otherwise, you've got quite a few drivers who have gained, 4 drivers have gained 7 positions here tonight. So Lawrence leads us away, but Miles is right with them, 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, this is I thought Lawrence was going to get that 1 second, but he has not managed it, and Miles is all over the back of the McLaren at the minute. He's really hunting him down. Joe is only just over a second behind in 3rd place. Then we have Rydog in 4th, and Jamie having a tremendous start. He's up into 5th place.
Yeah, and really interestingly here, Cole, Jack Craig is the only driver who's gone for those soft compounder tyres. So Proverb, Dr. Mew and Hockey Knight choosing the hard compounder tyres. I'm not sure Hockey Knight might have stopped. But otherwise everyone else on the medium tyres to start this race.
Yes, very surprised to see Jack Craig start on the soft tyres, so keep an eye out for him. He is almost certainly going to be the first driver to box. As I'm just looking at Quinn's car, I think both Quinn and Mason did manage to get damage-free in that incident down the main straight.
Quinn's got to get his head down and, think about the pace that he's got within that Red Bull. DRS has now been enabled, so this will be Miles' first taste with the rear wing open. Let's have a look at the background. It looks like Jamie's going to be passed by 3 cars potentially. So from 5th to 8th, both Saubers getting past. Jamie trying to hang it round the outside. A bit of wheel barging there and has to slot back into 8th position. That is the difficulty, Cole, of not having the DRS.
Yes, this is the effect now that we're seeing in action, that if the drivers behind have got DRS, they get a tow, and you can lose multiple positions, as you saw with Jamie, losing 3 places into turn 1. So, showing that he's got probably higher downforce than the rest of the drivers ahead, but that means he will have a little bit more grip in the corners.
Yeah, I think part of, the track is so wide down into turn 1, Cole, that perhaps it's almost compromised because, I think we were about 4, possibly 5 wide as we were heading down into turn 1 at one stage. So, Quinn and JR Mason, I don't think they made contact with the wall, but they were definitely on the grass.
Yeah, they were certainly on the grass. They've avoided damage, but of course lost quite a heap of positions. Quinn definitely coming off worst, and he has fallen back even from Vitinho. So
here comes Miles. Sorry, Cole. I didn't know if he was going to send it into turn 1. 0.2 of a second separate the two, or will he just line him up for? He's the way he's able to ride the curbs there. He looks like he's comfortable with the car here around Mexico. Is he going to try anything into turn 4? Not close enough on this occasion.
No, but you feel as though it's only a matter of time. Miles seems to be biding his time at the minute behind Lawrence. But one thing that's happening at the moment, which Miles is not going to like, is Joe and Rydog are getting dragged into this fight. So Miles is going to be extra keen to try and get the manoeuvre on Lawrence done as soon as possible, as we've got our first penalty already, only on lap 4. We got 2 now, Vitinho as well.
Yeah, Nicholas just riding on board with him, 0.4 of a second. He looks like he's quite comfortable with the car as the other Aston, his teammate spin. So Jack Craig on those soft tyres. And I've just seen that the Mercedes is trying to go past JR Mason. But that was definitely under yellow flag. So it looks like the Mercedes backed out in the end. Nicholas is going to try and take advantage here as we head across the line to start lap 5.
Yeah, so we've got quite a change during the back, but the top 4 are running away with it at the minute, and Sheisty's going to have a look at Matthias. Is he going to get the manoeuvre done? I think he is, or as he thinks about it, backs out at the very last second, and we got a train of cars now. Matthias is the cork in the bottle here at the minute.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to try and help his teammate who... Does he have end plate damage there? No, it's just hard to see on that Sauber because the end plates are black, so they kind of blend into the wheel. But he keeps making a little bit of a nudge on the RB in front. But look at the way through these slow speed corners, how they all bunch up, almost pushing each other through the right-handers before the fast section. So, one Sauber heading the field, but Sheisty's lost the gap now a little bit, and he is now the Effecto leader in this group. Nicholas has just joined the back, so he has gotten past JR Mason somewhere along this lap.
Yeah, I think Mason was having a ding-dong fight with the two Ferraris behind him. Proverb starting on the hard compound tyres, so I think he's going to come into this race now in the next 2 or 3 laps as we got a pitter.
Jamie already.
It's Jamie in the pits, only 4 laps on those mediums, so he is not a happy bunny on those medium tyres.
And Joe's in too, from 3rd place.
This is very, very early. Quite surprised.
3 wide into turn 1. Shiesty eventually gets ahead, pushes the Alpine out onto the grass, who then spins. I think, yeah, that was the Alpine of Gaming Nerd that spun. He's now fallen down to 11th position. It felt like no one wanted to give enough room, and ultimately it resulted in contact, Cole.
Yeah, 3 into 1 does not go, but one thing that I'm hoping is that there's no rear wing damage to that Alpine, because he did reverse into that wall at quite some speed, so I'd be very surprised if he's got away with rear wing damage there.
So top 2 separated by less than half a second. I'm running on board with this battle between the 4 from 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 5 cars. As Proverb, as you said, in those hard tires, going wide there though, under the braking zone, really wide, but you can see him now all in one shot, almost all in the same corner at once. We'll keep an eye on that gap between the top 2, but how much is Shiesty going to struggle here down the main straight? Looks like LDNN has definitely got a good run.
Yeah, you can see that he's gaining, but gaining not enough to have a look. But now he's got the DRS. Here he comes, look. Oh, it's a late move by Shiesty, but does leave enough room. Oh, and there's contact between the two.
Yeah, he came back towards the racing line, did LDNN, and make contact wheel to wheel with Shiesty. So was that a retaliation for a late move in terms of the defence? But Max doesn't mind because he's got through into 6th position.
Max into 6th. LDNN still in 5th position, but the 2 drivers do have time penalties. Shiesty having a good race at the minute in the top 7, chasing down Max and LDNN, but this, as Fury gets a 3-second time penalty, but look how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers, all nose to tail, and Nicholas has got front wing damage, Nick. I've just spotted that.
Yeah, he's got end plate damage on the left side of his car, so surprised he hasn't come in already to get rid of those medium tyres. But I think when you're in the DRS, if you could just stay there and just be kind of dragged along as possible, you're ultimately losing less time. As Miles comes into the pit, so has he gone for the undercut on Lawrence? Joe, by the way, when he pitted, he dropped all the way down, I think, to 15th place. So it just shows you when you pit this early, you can lose so many positions, as looks like Mac and LDNN both give each other plenty of room there into turn 1. That's good to see. And Shiesty now looking to try and get the run back on these 2.
Yeah, this fight is not over, as he's going to have a look down the inside. Is he going to make it? Oh, there's a bit of contact on Shiesty's round. Oh, and he's hit by the McLaren and slams into the wall. That's not what Shiesty would have wanted at all. I'm surprised there wasn't damage there, to be honest, as Miles picks up 3 seconds.
Yeah, that'll harm his chances of winning this race and getting his first win. Ultimately that we'd have to see that back, but I can see that one going to the steward's office. I think it was the Mercedes that tapped him. Speaking of the Mercedes, all over the back of the Aston Martin, and fair play to Aston Martin, gives him room on the inside, ends up going wide because of it, but still going side by side, making a little bit of contact. It's very difficult to get 2 cars side by side, and what's going to happen, it looks like they're both going to continue on for another lap. Lawrence is in, Rydog's in, Matthias is in, so Mac takes over the race lead, and we'll check shortly and show you everyone who has pitted.
Yeah, I mean, this is Joe now has got ahead of his teammate Lawrence, so Joe seems to be a little bit more comfortable on these hard tyres, but Lawrence, of course, has only just come out of the pit lane, so it shows that undercut, that 3-lap undercut, has enabled Joe to jump ahead of his teammate in the McLaren.
And Fury Formula also coming out the pits, as is Gaming Nerd, so a few drivers choosing lap 8 to come into the pits, and you can see the hard tyre being the favoured compound here tonight. But yeah, that's really interesting that Joe jumped his teammate. I wonder if there were any team orders. Nicholas still hanging on quite nicely, not getting a penalty with that wind damage. Done 9 laps now pretty much on these medium compound tyres, so I think his race pace, given the damage he's got, has been pretty impressive.
Yeah, very, very impressive from the Aston Martin driver, and he's all over the back of LDNN at this stage as well. Is he going to peel off into the pit lane? LDNN does, but Nicholas carries on for another lap as Jack is another driver to get a 3-second time penalty.
Are we going to see a move here by one of the McLarens on the other? Lawrence switches to the inside. Miles does have DRS, but can't do anything about the two teammates potentially working together to try and pull away. And they've both got ahead of Miles at the moment. So, yeah, interesting to see as yellow flags are out in Sector 2.
Yeah, it does appear that the McLarens are going to work together now to try and drag themselves forward, which is a very sensible tactic as well, as they are fast approaching Nicholas. But don't forget, the top 2 drivers are yet to pit, so they are losing considerable amount of time on these old medium tyres.
So we can see that the drivers who haven't stopped is Dr. Mew, Proverb, who started on hard, so he knew he'd be going longer into this race. Nicholas and Mac, so the top 2 haven't stopped, and ultimately, yeah, a few drivers trying a different strategy.
Yeah, one thing that I'm still shocked at is how close the field is. There's only a couple of, most drivers are in DRS with only a couple of seconds gap. It's still anyone's race at this stage. Proverb, another driver, obviously, as Lawrence sets the fastest lap of the race as he hunts down Max for retaking the lead. You feel as though Joe's going to get the manoeuvre done here, Nick?
Yeah, I think he's going to get the pass if he's going to go late on the brakes into turn 1. How much will the Aston Martin fight? Now trying to keep it on the outside, which becomes the inside. Just giving each other enough room. That's the type of racing we'd love to see. Miles trying to get involved here as well. Is he going to be able to do anything to take advantage of that battle? No, I think he's going to have to settle for behind the Aston, who's got great speed with that wing damage. I do hope that Nicholas knows that's a mandatory 2-stop. I did message him about it, so he has gone quite long on these mediums, but so has Mac.
Yes, I was. That thought did enter my brain, and I was a bit worried. And they are going to be losing considerable time on these old mediums as well. Max is getting hunted down now by the McLaren as Lawrence thinks about a move into the stadium section. You can see how much more grip they've got on these new hards, Nick.
Yeah, you can see that the Alpine's almost pushing the Aston. Same with the McLaren on the Haas, who comes into the pits, and I think Nicholas is trying to come into the pits, has to cut over the barrier because he was on the outside. He had a car on the inside, Cole, and he had to kind of stumble across the pit lane entrance there in order to dive into the pits. Interestingly, Proverbs also come in on his hard compounded tyres, so Jamie should jump up nicely here into 6th position in the Williams, but he does have Vitinho all over the back of him. Is Vitinho too far back on this occasion, or is he going to send it?
Oh, he just gets down the inside. Nice manoeuvre from the Ferrari driver there. Talking about Proverb, only did 11 laps on those hard compounded tyres. That's going to be very, very difficult now for the rest of the race for Proverb. I think he would have probably wanted to stretch those hards out a little bit longer, but let's see what he can manage. Can Jamie now stick with Vitinho? Obviously, Vitinho is on those medium compound tyres.
Interestingly, Nicholas did not change his end plate, didn't change his wing on that occasion. Joe, by the way, has lost out 2 seconds to his teammate, so he won't have DRS to help defend against Miles, who's going to be desperate to get past the sister McLaren on this lap as Lawrence sets the fastest lap of the race.
Lawrence seems to have the pace on his teammate here quite comfortably at this stage. Is Joe just biding in his time, or is that his lot? Miles is right on his gearbox. Not quite enough straight line speed to get the manoeuvre done into turn 1 though.
Yeah, that was interesting. They were really close as they came into the final corner. But it looks like Joe just kind of bolted down the straight, and even with DRS, the Alpine wasn't able to close in too much. So, you know, this gap's getting up now towards nearly 3 seconds at the moment, and we know that these two McLaren drivers are friends in real life. So, is there a bit of gamesmanship going on? Look how close the Alpine is now, 2.5 tenths behind. He must be desperate to get past.
Must be so frustrating just to be stuck in the DRS and not have enough straight line speed to have a go. You feel as though it's going to have to be a bit of a bonsai move under braking. He is right behind him. Is he going to have a little look into the stadium section? No, but this is the closest I've seen him. Oh, he's going to have a go in the last corner. That's going to be interesting. Did they make it round? Yeah, they did just. But Miles still, you feel as though this is going to be his chance now. This is the closest he's been.
But look, he can't. He's going to struggle to get past even with DRS, and as switches it to the inside. That was only a 3-tenth gap as they headed towards the DRS zone, so it took that little of a gap in order to get past the McLaren driver. Is the McLaren driver going to be able to do anything to fight back? You got Ride Dog looking to get involved, and all meanwhile Lawrence has got his gap up to nearly 4 seconds.
Yeah, Lawrence very comfortable out in the lead at this stage. Last week's winner in America, around Texas, who dominated Texas, not having the same level of dominance here at all, but he is in 4th place, hounding the back of McLaren.
Well, Quinn has just spun round at turn 2, and I was riding on board. I had a nice helicopter shot of that. I just don't understand. To me, that was all to blame on Quinn. Yes, the Ferrari was playing hardball, but Quinn just kind of nudged into his side pod, almost as to say, give me more room, and ended up spinning his car. So those are the sorts of incidents, Cole, that we've spoken about that Quinn tends to get involved in, and ultimately it's cost him here again.
Yeah, unfortunately, what I've noticed with Quinn, if one thing goes against him, he struggles to put it at the back of his brain and just, you know, focus on the car ahead, on the track ahead. But hopefully he can settle down a little bit now and try and drag these hards out and get a good result, because he's not too far off some points, Nick.
Well, Miles has just gone back down the inside of Ride Dog, so he lost out to Joe into turn 1, then lost out to Ride Dog through turn 2 and 3, and then sent it back down the inside of the Mercedes driver. So this is all just helping Lawrence run away with this, when in theory there's plenty of drivers behind him who I believe are on very similar pace that could be fighting him for this win.
Yeah, exactly that. The drivers behind are fighting so much, they're slowing themselves down, giving Lawrence a nice easy time out in front, which is music to Lawrence's ears at this stage.
Yeah, it definitely is. Obviously, Miles has that penalty. Matthias looking to get involved. He had some good pace earlier on in the season. You can see it's gotten a bit cloudy above, and that should help tyre temperatures. But is Ride Dog going to be able to get the move done on the Alpine driver? Yes, he is. So Ride Dog up into 3rd place. Matthias still just behind the Alpine driver at the moment.
Yeah, Miles still up in that 4th place with a time penalty. Matthias sitting very nicely in 5th place with no penalties at the minute. But another instance there, Nick, of Matthias having DRS but not managing to close in on the car head.
Alrighty, well, let's keep an eye on some of the battles further down the field. Jeremy Mason and Mac are looking to attack Jamie, who's having a good race, currently in 8th position. So we got yellow flags in Sector 2. Who is that for?
I think that was Dr. Mew. Yeah, Dr. Mew has damaged his front wing. He's going to have to come in the pit lane, I think, and yeah, he's lost his end plate, and he's really struggling out there on his new mediums, so struggle to get him up to temperature. Is he going to peel off in the pit lane? Yes, he does.
Alrighty, well, as we ride on board with Mac in Williams Sandwich at the moment, so he's gone for another set of mediums, as has Patino and LDNN. Is that because they took their first mediums far enough that they can stretch the stint on this second one and then only run one hards? So different contrasting strategy. Ride Dog right on the back of Lawrence. Now, is he going to be able to try anything into turn 4? The gap seems to stabilize about 5.5 seconds between Lawrence and whoever is in second place. But yeah, these second, third and fourth and fifth, all separated within DRS zone, pulling away from LDNN in 6th position.
Yes, and I think there's been a tactical change. Jamie has let through his teammate Mason, let him through down the main straight. So Mason free to attack the drivers ahead as we got a yellow flag in Sector 1. Who is that? It's Proverb. Proverb he's in the wall. Proverb really struggling. I think he's managed to get away with damage. Yes, he has. But really struggling out there. As LDNN gets another time penalty. Nick, I'm going to have a look to see what the time penalties are. 7
drivers without at the moment. But Joe, now under attack from last week's winner of Ride Dog. Is Ride Dog going to have enough ERS, have enough DRS? He's got plenty of ERS in his battery. Does he have the wings, though? He's going to have to do it on the brakes if he wants to try and get past, or he's got to line him up to be able to send it into turn 4. Goes nice and early on the brakes, focusing on getting clean through the chicane, getting on the power early. What can Joe do to defend? Looks like Joe is simply a bollard for Lawrence at the moment. Yeah, he can't do anything.
Yeah, isn't that really, really interesting? It shows that Rydog has much higher downforce levels than the likes of Joe, and you can see that with the confidence in the corners, as if we look back, you can see the green kick Sauber behind Rydog, and that means Matthias has got past Miles.
Yes, Miles really struggling in this second stage of the race. He looked so quick earlier on the medium compounded tyres. Perhaps he just preferred that compound. Another time penalty coming in. J.R. Mason, and so Mac has got ahead of Jamie, as has J.R. Mason, and Mac has also got ahead of Vitinho. So the Haas driver making moves. We've missed them at the moment. Nicholas in the Aston still suffering with that wing damage. The other Aston of Jack Craig looking pretty close to Gaming Nerd on his return, currently in 12th position. And it's about to go up into take that 12th position from him as down into the right-hander there. Job is done.
Yeah, and Rydog gets the manoeuvre done on Joe as well. So Rydog now up into second place.
Safety
Nick.
car?
Oh, we've
some
got
sort
a safety
of
car.
We've got something.
Who is that? I think
Dr.
it might
Mew.
be Hockey now. Oh, maybe Dr. Mew, yes.
And it's
yes,
a full
Dr.
safety car. A full safety car, Cole.
Now, is this going to be enough time for these drivers to... Surely it's enough time. Go on the hard compounded tyres, but you feel as though those drivers have only got mediums left. They're going to be really, really struggling. As Gaming Nerd goes on intermediate tyres. So that's a big mistake from Gaming Nerd. He's going to have to come back in the pit lane.
Yeah, he must have been selecting it last minute as LDNN gets himself a 10-second penalty. Not sure what's happening there, but this is interesting. This is going to close the field right up, and you'd expect all drivers to fit the hard compounded tyres and take them 17 laps to the end of the race.
Yeah, which is more than doable, because obviously they're going to get a couple of laps under the safety car as well. So, you know, it's going to be probably 15 push laps, which is more than doable for those hard compound tyres. But the drivers have only got mediums left, Nick. What are they going to do?
Well, I think that might only be, unfortunately for him, Proverb, because he's used both hards. I think everyone else should, if they've selected the harder strategy, will have 2 sets of hards to go to the end of the race. But of course, we will have to wait and see as all the drivers come into the pit. So you can see Matthias, he's coming as well. So we'll get an updated order shortly. Lawrence is currently behind a Haas driver, so that'll be Hockey Night. So Hockey Night is effectively the safety car leader because he's been lapped, or will he be allowed past?
That's a very, very good question. I think he could be lapped. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, Hockey Night is lapped. He will not be allowed to overtake this safety car. So unfortunately for Hockey Night, that has not worked out for him at all. Don't forget, LDNN, he's going to have to serve his 10-second penalty in the pit lane, Nick. So whatever he got it for, it won't be able to be removed, unfortunately.
There was almost contact with the safety car on 2 occasions there by Hockey Night. So Hockey Night he has gone past the safety car now.
I don't think that maybe it was waiting to pick up the leader rather than Hockey Night. So this means that Hockey Night now, as long as he doesn't pit, he can race round the track and get back on the lead lap and he'll come up behind Gaming Nerd. Yeah, and he hasn't pitted, so that's the right call.
Alrighty, looking a bit sketchy there. I was worried someone might be getting a wrongful disqualification. But let's talk about strategy, Cole. Because if I flick over to the pit stops, we can see that everyone except Proverb, as I said, has completed 2 pit stops. And interestingly, Matthias, Nicholas, Fury Formula, Gaming Nerd and Hockey Night have all chosen the medium. 15 laps, 16 laps on the medium, Cole. It's a stretch.
That is a big, big stretch. They are going to be really, really struggling towards the end of this race. Really speaking, those medium runners are going to need another safety car, really, to help them, because I just can't see any of these drivers making those last. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there could be a puncture or 2 if they try it.
Well, that'll be really interesting, because not something you often see in Formula 1 games or in real life, just from drivers having excessive wear. It's usually debris that would cause that. But as we head towards to end lap 21, I don't think the safety car will be coming in this lap. I imagine it will stay out one more lap for the back of the field to catch up. Where has Hockey Night? Yeah, he's down the main straight now, so he should have this lap and another lap to catch up, as long as those 2 blue cars coming through the slow section don't catch the field up before the end of this lap. But hard tyres behind the safety car that's going this slow, they are going to be cold as they trumble down to turn 1. Matthias could be in a strong position here, as we're seeing Jack Craig. Oh, Jack Craig just drove and hit the side of the Ferrari driver, and again, he's done it again. So not sure what's going on there through the final sector. It looked like they changed positions earlier on in the lap. Maybe Jack Craig not happy with the Ferrari driver, but ultimately you can't be making contact like that. But just right on board. They keep changing positions, so I don't know what's going on here, Colt.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of confusion between who should be the lead driver out of the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. I think Jack's decided to settle now behind the Ferrari for the restart of this race, which you'd expect at the end of this lap. And we have Gaza in the chat. Hi, Gaza.
Gaza, of course, on holiday, enjoying the sunshine, well deserved after his nail-biting finish in Qatar. Between himself and Joe that he was chasing down. But Lawrence heading the field at the moment. Ride Dog in second position. Joe in third, Matthias in fourth, Miles in fifth, Mac in sixth, Vitinho in seventh, J Mason in eighth, Proverb in ninth, the only driver yet to complete a mandatory 2-stop. But as we said, there are a few drivers on the... Maybe there's lag involved there because they're changing position again, the Aston and the Ferrari. But yeah, will the safety car in this lap, will these medium tyres go to the end? Colin and I don't think so. But who are we other than OAPs at this stage in our career?
Yeah, I think, I mean, what Matthias must do at this stage is make use of these medium tyres. As Quinn gets a 10-second penalty for...
So does Gaming Nerd. So as long as they don't pit again, they could appeal that in the steward's office. It looks like Lawrence, has he gone? I think he has. He hasn't done it very well because Rydog has got a massive... It's only 3/10 second. No DRS, of course, for the first lap. Cole, can he get this move done?
Yeah, this is what Lawrence feared was a safety car. He had a 7-second lead. That is now nothing. Rydog right on the back. Can Joe do anything to help his teammate out at this stage?
Keeps the position for now, so says to me that McLaren has a good straight line speed. Matthias on those medium compound tyres trying to get ahead of Joe. Desperately isn't able to do anything. Someone locking up just in front of them. Who else is changing position? Anyone going side by side? There is a gap between Jack, Craig and Nicholas, so something has happened back there. And there's contact. One of the... So that was Gaming Nerd made contact with the Ferrari into turn 4 there. Shiesty at the back of the field as well. So some drivers losing out massively. And I think there could potentially be some incidents in the steward's office this week.
Yes, I think the stewards could be busy boys as Shiesty has lost both end plates at the minute, so he's going to have to box. Fury Formula, I think he's got away with damage. Yes, he has. Wouldn't have done his medium tyres any good.
Here comes Rydog. Sorry, Colt. Rydog, is he going to be able to get the move done here? He doesn't have DRS, of course. And he's got plenty of battery, so choosing not to use too much at this stage.
Yeah, he seems to be biding his time at the minute. As Gaming Nerd gets a 10-second penalty, he retires in the pit lane as well. Always surprises me when drivers do that when there's a fastest lap point on offer, but there you go. Yeah, Rydog seems to be biding his time at this stage. But has he got that straight line speed to Lawrence? That's the key thing.
Yeah, and he's going to have to think about defending as well, because look at the drivers that are hunting this leader down. Mac, the only driver who's fallen out of the DRS now within that top 7. J.R. Mason also just slightly outside of the DRS. Jamie trying to get ahead of Proverb. Jack Craig on the back of Quinn at the moment. So Quinn just a magnet for incidents, isn't he, in the races?
Yeah, it's not really going his way at the minute. But he's 13th. He's only one place out of the points. He has... Oh, but he does have front wing damage. I'm just seeing there that he has lost his end plate, so that's not going to help his cause.
Oh, there's contact between Nicholas and LDNN. Interestingly, I think the Sauber was on the outside, and they made contact as they entered just before they entered the final corner. Look what's all happening at the front, though. They're all squirming for position. What can Rydog do into turn 4? Nothing. The gap virtually identical between himself and the McLaren in front to the McLaren behind.
Yeah, it's just showing that Rydog does not have the straight line speed that Lawrence does. Joe looks to be similar with his straight line speed to Rydog. Miles, on the other hand, he is fast approaching, and Matthias on those medium tyres, he's fast approaching the top 4 as well. So this race is not over, not by a long shot.
Here comes Miles. He's got a good run on Joe. Been stuck behind Joe most of this race ever since the early pit stop that Joe made, but ultimately can't get past. You got Matthias on the back there as well. He looks hungry in those medium compound tyres. He won't have long before they start to lose their grip. Is he going to be able to have the straight line speed to get the job done. Ride Dog, is he going to be able to pass? Lawrence looks like he's set the car up to be a rocket ship down this straight.
He really has, and it's working for him at the minute. And you can see that Ride Dog, DRS, wide open, but he cannot get far enough alongside to have an attack into the braking zone. So Lawrence at the minute, as long as he can keep it all four wheels on the track, not make a mistake, I feel as though Ride Dog's best option now is just to save his ERS for a lap or two and dump it down the main straight.
Mac and JR Mason going side through the twisty section. JR Mason gets the job done. Looked like they kept it nice and clean, so well done to those boys. But Joe a second now behind Ride Dog in second place. So is this the chance that Ride Dog needs? He doesn't need to worry about the car behind heading into the main straight. He's got to dump all his ERS, as you said, Cole, and see if he can get the lead on this McLaren.
Yeah, that's all that he can do. I will have a look, actually, and see. Yeah, so Ride Dog's got 95%. And now he's dumping it. This is what I think he planned to do, but Lawrence has got 40%. But it's still not working, Nick. It's not enough. If anything, Lawrence is pulling away.
Yeah, he's going to get the gap down slightly towards the braking zone, but he needs more, doesn't he? He needs more speed. He needs to be closer as they exit the final corner and then just try and send it on the brakes. But, of course, the P2 tier starting shortly at 4:30. But we don't want to head away from this race. We've seen dramatic finishes here in the P3 tier this season, Cole, season 27. But are we going to see another one here tonight?
I think we are. This doesn't... Ride Dog is not letting Lawrence get away, but there's so much pressure on Lawrence because he knows one small mistake, one snap of oversteer around the last corner, and that is Ride Dog through. He cannot afford to put a foot wrong for the remaining 9 laps of this race.
So 0.3 of a second. This is the closest he's been, but he needs to continue to stay close through this, what is effectively a baseball stadium, I believe. 0.4 of a second. Focusing on the exit. Let's have a look. They've both got similar amounts of battery left. Half a second. And look, he just can't pull away. Lawrence going defensive on this occasion, but just doesn't have enough speed. Just
not enough straight line speed for the Mercedes driver, but they have left Joe and Miles a bit further behind. Matthias on his 8-lap old mediums now. Now, this is when I expect Matthias to start feeling that tyre wear and starting to struggle, but he is sticking with the back of Miles at the minute.
It's all to play for here tonight. JR Mason looking to make a move on the Ferrari driver down the inside of turn 4, goes really to the inside. Fair play to Vitinho, it gives him plenty of space, but JR Mason just wasn't able to carry the speed that he needed to complete that overtake on this occasion. I'm sure he'll have another go. Jack Craig on the back of Quinn, who's got ahead of the Aston Martin driver. The other Aston just behind. Niles gets another penalty, so he could be falling further down the order. JR Mason could be moving up towards the top 5 as we head through lap 28 and 36. Not long left in this race.
No, so Miles has got 9 seconds of penalties now. Vitinho, the driver, just ahead of Mason, has 6 seconds as we got.
It's Jack Craig.
Martin off. Jack off in sector 2, I think that is, coming into sector 3.
Yeah, I don't think he's got any damage. Oh, he does have damage, yeah, on the M plate. He went off just behind his teammate. Is he going to come into the pits? He looks pretty fed up. He is going to come into the pits. And he's going to slow the car down. So maybe he'll take a stop, go for fastest lap. Nope. Retired in the pits. Why do drivers do that? Yeah.
It baffles my brain. It really, really does. Just to give drivers, I know we've only got a couple of laps left. I was 37 seconds behind the guy in 17th. after 8 laps and finished 12th with the fastest lap. So never ever give up. But going through the penalties, Nick, this is crucial. Miles has 9 seconds of penalties. Vitinho 6 seconds. Max 3. LDNN has 12 seconds of penalties. Quinn has 16. Nicholas 3. Shiesty 6. And Fury 3. Make that 15 for LDNN.
Yeah, racking up the penalties here in Mexico. Nicholas gets himself another one. So those drivers who have managed to avoid it, the top 4 currently have been able to do so. How are those medium tyres faring? You've got Matthias, Nicholas, Hockey Knight, all on them. Obviously, Proverb has now come in for his second stop, so all drivers have completed their mandatory 2-stop at this stage in the race. 6/10 the gap back down between the top 2, but I feel like as Vitinho gets back past J.R. Mason down the pit straight, these two are having a ding-dong battle here tonight. Does Lawrence have enough? Does he have an answer every time that he needs one?
Yeah, there's Proverb setting the fastest lap, so he's going to have, at this moment in time, 1 point for the fastest lap. Can anyone beat it? But Rydog, I've noticed he's not so close to Lawrence in the last couple of laps. Is he trying to cool his tyres and do a Lando Norris and have another attack later on? That we're going to have to wait and see. Matthias now has dropped off the back of Joe. You feel as though that tyre wear now is starting to kick in for the Kick Sauber driver.
Well, back down to half a second almost between the top 2 as they enter the final corner, and Lawrence went a little bit deep there in the final corner. He will get a decent exit still, but what can Rydog do? He's going to have DRS open now. He's dumping a bit of battery, but yeah, whatever wings Lawrence is running, my goodness gracious, is he quick in a straight line.
Yeah, he is absolutely rapid in a straight line, is our man Lawrence. And Mason back through on Vitinho. These guys are just... if I'm hoping that I feel as though they're almost working together, because then neither of them are blocking into turn 1, and they're dragging themselves back into the fight for the top 5 with only 2.5 seconds behind, and Miles fast approaching Matthias.
Yeah, Miles obviously has those penalties. J.R. Mason doesn't, Vitinho does. So looks like J.R. Mason actually is building a gap on this lap. Yeah, he's got it over a second. So Vitinho had a little bit of a difficult start to this lap, but if he's able to stay, he might get another chance to get back past. But yeah, I saw that as well. It didn't really look like they were defending against each other. Hockey Knight's come in for a set of soft tyres, going for the fastest lap outside the top 10. So maybe he's been listening to us on stream not to give up and try and go for those extra points. Look at these two. Who is that? Ferry Formula is just ahead of these cars, so Lawrence might get the aid of DRS. Not that he bloody needs it.
No, that's the thing. Rydog's still within half a second of Lawrence with a couple of laps to go. He must be able to draw that gearbox and diffuser, that McLaren, with his eyes closed at this stage. But Nick, they are catching up to Fury Formula, a lapped car. Is that going to make any difference?
It remains to be seen. 0.2 of a second, that's pretty close. Jamie getting past LDNN into 9th position. He'll hope to jump ahead of Mac and Vitinho once those penalties have been applied at the end of this race. I feel like if Rydog wants to get the win of this race, and of course he won last time out, didn't he, Cole?
Yes, Rydog won the race in USA. Brilliantly so, I must say. As we got a yellow flag in Sector 2, who is that?
Ferrari. It's Fury Formula.
That's Fury Formula. Looks like he just about manages to avoid the wall, and he is back on his way.
So these top two still separated 0.6 of a second at the moment. We know that gap is big enough that Rydog won't be able to try and move into turn 1. He's got to get it down to 0.3 or less, I think, Cole, if he wants to be able to win this race. Yeah,
that is his only hope, really, because being half a second behind down that main straight is simply not enough. as Vitinho is back past Mason. They really are working together quite well there. But I got to be honest, I am so impressed with Matthias. He's done 13 laps on these medium tyres, and he hasn't really lost any of his pace. It's absolutely tremendous driving from him, I must say.
Ride Dog pushing Lawrence through the slow speed section, but just doesn't have the straight line speed in that Mercedes. Of course, both Mercedes engines you see there, as Hockey Knight does set the fastest lap of the race, so he'll get a point for that outside the top 10. So good job to him. You can see the dirty air affecting the car behind, and then he'll close back up in this final section of the track. I find it really interesting that since Lawrence and Joe have moved down from the P2 tier, they've seemed to alternate in terms of who has the pace race to race. So it's, 1 week Joe will be the quicker of the two, then Lawrence will be the quicker of the two. They don't really seem to ever have similar pace where they're battling each other for the race win.
No, exactly that. And you always find that one of the McLarens has quite considerable more pace than the other as well. But the only thing really at the minute that's going to really hinder Lawrence is if he gets a warning, a penalty. I'm just going to have a look at the race director now, and I'll tell you what warnings the top two have.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, because that could play a huge part in deciding who wins this race. Force the driver in front into an error, which gets him a 3-second time penalty, and then you don't even need to pass him. But saying that, Colt, we've seen drivers, not pass a driver because they've got a penalty, and then that driver ends up getting it removed from the stewards, and ultimately they then don't get the position. But Ride Dog, he's got to follow closely. He's been able to do that this lap. So basically he's got 2 laps to get this job done. Through this final section of the track, he's got to keep it within 3 tenths, and has a little moment there, but is able to close slightly as they head towards the final corner, Colt.
This is the closest he's been. Look, he's almost nudging the McLaren. Is this going to be his opportunity? Where's the DRS? There's the DRS. He's in his toe. Can he get close enough? No. Look, Lawrence is pulling away almost. He's just not going to have enough. Or he's almost close enough to have a go into turn 1, but just not quite.
I think even if he was a car length behind, he'd feel confident enough to send it down the inside, but he can't even get to his front wheel to the back wheels. And what's happened to Miles? Miles has spun round. Down into 7th place. So Vitinho and Jared Mason move up the order. Matthias can breathe again on those medium compounded tyres. Jared Mason, of course, will jump ahead of Vitinho back into the top 5 where he started this race.
Yeah, I think Vitinho and Miles came together there. Miles coming off worse. Although I will say that Miles has been really struggling with his tyres, so he might have dropped it on his own. But this is going to be it, Nick. This is pretty much Ride Dog's last opportunity. Is he going to go for a banzai move on Lawrence into the first corner? Let's wait and see. Here he comes, Nick.
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, I don't think he has anything. Lawrence is just burning and just pulling away. Ridiculous straight line speed in that McLaren. Obviously, Lawrence has set his car up to win this race by not letting anyone overtake him. We saw Miles wasn't able to do it earlier on. Ride Dog hasn't been able to do it this whole last stint. So, yeah, he'll be disappointed, but you have to say that the race was won today on car setup.
Yes, I feel as though you're right there. And he's driven the car absolutely brilliantly, because he would have had next to no grip in the corners. It would have been so difficult for him. But he's absolutely driven perfection. This is his last chance now for Ride Dog. Is he going to be close enough? No. Lawrence doesn't even feel the need to defend. Is he going to go for it down? Oh, look out, here he goes down the inside.
Lawrence gives in space, leaves. Fair enough. Oh my goodness gracious, they're struggling to get on the traction. Lawrence is going to go deep. Ride Dog.
The switchback. Look at this, Nick. We're wheel to wheel. Who's going to do it? It's Lawrence. What a finish that is. That is astonishing.
My goodness gracious me. How did that McLaren hang on to that race win? Riot Dog will be so frustrated if he's thinking any other lap in this race, and I would have had that position down into turn 1. But ultimately, the McLaren keeps the position and takes the race win. We saw him his teammate just take the race win from Gaza in round 9 in Qatar. And the other McLaren, half a tenth between the two of them. What a finish. Joe finishes 3rd, Matthias 4th after completing 17 laps on medium tyre. Jared Mason back up to 5th. Bettino in 6th. Miles, I'm not actually sure where he finished because he's left the session. He obviously frustrated with that one, having run 2nd early on in the race.
Yeah, Miles obviously very, very frustrated with that. But what an absolute... I mean, we have been treated to some amazing racing here in P3 in One Hub. That is the closest result we've had all year, just half a tenth. Absolutely tremendous.
Well, what a finish to round 11 in Mexico. We won't be able to stay for long because the P2 tier are raring to go. Obviously, J. Cole's got to wait for Jamie to get into the lobby. But let's thank our sponsors quickly whilst the podium celebrations are going on. SimGrid, big thanks to them, who we run all of our seasons and championships through. Vespa Team for providing merch in terms of prizes. And of course, you can go and grab your One Hub t-shirt, cap, whatever you need for the winter months ahead. Next Level Racing, big thanks to them for all their support over the years. Sim Racing setups we talked about earlier. Make sure you go and try their setups if you haven't already. And Pure Sim Gear with their Sim Racing gloves and Sim Racing socks. I think it's time to pick the driver of the day. The Sim Racing setups driver of the day, Cole. As the gentleman that I am, who are you going for?
I'm going to have to give it to Matthias for dragging those medium tyres 14, 15 laps. I did not think that was possible. I thought Matthias was going to get absolutely murdered at the end of the race. Yes, Mason got within a second of him as it turned out, but he kept it on the track. So my question for you, Matthias, is when you went on those medium tyres, did you really think you could stretch them all the way till the end of the race?
Alrighty, so my driver, Sim Racing Setups driver of the day is going to go to Vitinho from 12th on the grid into 6th position. So well done to him. And my question for you, Vitinho, is were you working together with Mason in that last stint to move forwards towards the top 5?
Yes, it did certainly look like that. And I think 2 very well-deserved driver of the days there. But, I mean, what a race that was. And if the P2 race is anything to go by, then you can't miss that one either. That's going to be starting now very, very shortly. Who's going to come out top with our 2 P2 Titans? Is it going to be Papa Squanch or is it going to be Morgan?
All to play for next week for the finale in Brazil. We're going to head off and you can go and join the P2 tier. You'll have J. Cole and Jamie commentating on that one. Best of luck to all the drivers over there. Cole, thanks for joining me. We'll be back next week for the finale.
See you all next week at our normal time of 4:30.